But there are certain stressors that we are programmed with, so to speak, from childhood. We watched our parents stress about things. Maybe no one said anything, but we now stress about those things too.
As a parent, I get that. I can feel that. My kids stress about the things that I stressed at, even if I don't highlight it. It's just they've come to learn that from being around me.
Well, we all do, and we're all big fat liars. I mean, my husband will say to me, "Does that bother you?" No, I'm fine. Well, in recovery work, fine means fouled up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. You're a big fat liar, Zoli. You're clearly not fine. But what you're saying is, I'm going to deal with it, or I don't want to deal with it right now, and I'm sorry you noticed.
Isn't that the truth?
We're all just people, and all this stuff we talk about, Linda, it's telling people just be a people. When I can understand my behaviors or my stresses and laugh about it, my mom was great about that. Oh my God, she was hysterically funny. You got mad, you get glad. That's it. Figure it out.
We do have to be a little bit more gentle with ourselves to remember we are just people. I think a lot about how women collaborate. Women are stuck in competition a lot of times rather than collaborating. I think a lot of that is we forget that we're just people and we're all going through our stuff.
Well, men do it differently. We all do. We're trying to better ourselves. We're trying to get away from stress. We're trying to hide the mask that we hide behind because none of us are 100% authentic all the time. You're just not. Some people are never authentic. Some people are more than others. We can't worry about that. We can't let that get between us and live a healthful life. And what we're trying to do is live in that little slither of homeostasis between comfort and stress.
Is there any way that we can know if we're being authentic?
Ask everybody else. Ask who's ever around you. Do you dare? I don't. Zoli, so ask my husband, do you think I'm being my real self today? He'll say, in what area? What do you mean? And what I'm saying is, do you see my mask or am I doing better hiding behind it?
Mm.
I think that's the scariest thing we can do is look in the mirror and see who we really are. It's terrifying. Don't tell me it's not. Because that mask crumbles or melts off, and we're scrambling to get it before it goes down the drain of the sink because we need it to protect ourselves from what we think is evil or hurtful or just revealing. It's part of life, too. It's just part of being a person. We're all going to do it. Sometimes we do better than others.
Yeah, I would definitely rather go in a dark forest and face creepy creatures than look in the mirror and face myself some days.
Well, because it gives us something to do, first of all. It's the creepy crawlies and the icky stuff. It shows us that we're not there yet. It keeps us on the path. The flashlight in the dark, the deep, dark forest, it's our flashlight. It's the purpose of evil is to show us that we're not there yet and that we need God. We need the divine, whatever you access the divine with.
So in that way, the evil, icky stuff is doing our part, and it is all love.
It's all the material world. And it's the material world is not love itself. It's the material world. It's a service. It's something that we use to get back to God. We come from spirit and we become physical. The involutionary arc, what you called evil, is physical and it goes back to God. So it's opposite. And I don't fully get that, but I know from theosophy that that's true. But we have to live in the physical world, we have to use it. People on other planets that are more evolved than us, which is probably most of them, they don't have that fight. I think this is a specific of Earth. This has been going on since before the war in Atlantis, millions of years ago, hundreds and thousands of years ago.
You know, this might be a product of me being a mom of teenagers, but the more I look into the spiritual world and the more I study, it makes me feel like Earth is a video game. Like this life is a video game. That's what it feels
That's hysterical. That's hysterical. And people have said that, yeah, it's the Matrix. I don't get that, but I'll tell you what I do get about that. So, and I wrote about this in one of the book. What are we up to? About 10 books now? That the first time I had that otherness realization, we had a house. I grew up in Birmingham, and we had a beach house on Pensacola on Avenida Uno, Pensacola Beach, 1214 Areola Drive. Well, that's before the hurricane totally blew it away. And we'd go down there all the time. I mean, that was it. That was all the vacations. It was our happy place. So I was probably 9 years old. And we went out on a boat from my parents' friends. He was a dermatologist named Jack Otis. And I have distinct memory of standing on kind of near the bow of the boat. You know, the captain was to my right, and I was holding on to the outer rail and the inner part with the wind blowing in my face. And I became conscious. I was more than me. That was the feeling of the assimilation. And I think we start to feel that. People talk about that now because of the wake up call to realize that you are more than you. But to say, well, the world's just assimilation. Well, no, it's not. Come on. It's so many things we can't even label it. But what you're saying is that's where I am right now.
right. Or it's an awareness that there's um, rules to the game, rules to the world that go beyond the physical.
Well, the biggest rule is your skin. That's the largest organ in your body. You
Yeah.
gotta People say, "I don't have any boundaries." Yeah, you do. Come on.
Let
Yeah,
me
you
introduce
do.
you then.
Yeah, it cracks me up, and, once again, I'm gonna get in trouble for this, my new age woo-woo friends. There you go again, Zoli. But they say, "Oh, we don't have any boundaries." The hell you don't. You have time and space and your skin, and you have this and that. Well, we don't need any boundaries. You need them. What you're saying is you don't want your consciousness to be bound by the physical ones.
That's an important distinction to make because we try to shed the physical, which is this besides the point of why we're here.
Well, that's what all the drug and alcohol stuff's about. I think it's ridiculous. I'm not a friend of those worlds. I'm not a friend of somebody saying, I'm going to go down and do ayahuasca because it's going to this and that. Bullshit. You're not. You don't go anywhere. You encounter the beings that are in charge of that drug. You encounter them. They are real. Is it bad? Do you get realizations? Yeah. But I believe personally that when we do the physical work within the boundaries of the physical world with love, light, and power, that those super psychic abilities that you want, they will come to you at the appropriate time. If you force them, you will have to go back and redo it in some other life and time. But that's just what I think.
It makes sense just with everything. There's no quick answer. You don't just get to drink the magic potion and have all the knowledge of the universe.
I had a friend I went to a doctor that I love and adore, and she said, "Oh, my family came in town. They're going to a ketamine place. They're going to do ketamine. And I looked at her like she had a horn growing out of her forehead. I was doing my stare thing. She said, I can tell you don't like that. I said, why should you care if I like it or not? Why'd you tell me that? You clearly wanted to know what I think. So I thought, well, Zoe, you need to shut the F up because you're about to get into one of your heated theoretical discussions with somebody that's maybe smarter than you, but her family is doing some weird drug to get up on themselves. So we let it drop. That's another one of those things I'm trying to figure out how can I help you with this? I'm just staring at her thinking, what are you going to say next? Well, she didn't say anything next.
Huh.
So it was very uncomfortable for me. And I have an ex colleague that I love very much. We don't communicate anymore. I had to ghost her because she crossed my boundaries over and over and over and over. Her choice, my choice. I think the sacred contract would end it. That's fine. There's no hostility. But she works with people with ketamine therapy with a doctor. So the therapy also on their website says if you just want to experience ketamine, why the hell would you want to experience that? It's a drug. You can come get high from us. So
Oh,
I'm not a friend of that. I'm not a friend of that culture at all. I'm I'm just on the other side of all that. Am I right or wrong? Neither. It's just how I am. So you have to find out what you believe in all this. What do you believe? And then don't let anything scratch your surface enough to where they're going to draw blood and you have to defend yourself if you haven't set good boundaries in the first place.
wow. Yeah. We really don't do that enough. And it's the idea that when you know what you believe, then you don't have to defend yourself, but you also can set up those boundaries to say, this is where I stand on it.
It can take a lifetime to get those. And will your boundaries change? Yeah, they might. I'm, I love people. I love being around people occasionally, not all the time, because I'm hypersensitive. I empath them. And as my husband says, he says, Zoe walks into a room and within 60 seconds, she has scoped on everybody in there. And she will stay about another 10 minutes before she leaves. That's just how I am. Is that right or wrong? No, it's neither. It's just the kind of person that I am. I empath on everything. And I've learned to assess things. But I did that why? To protect myself, to protect my ironclad boundaries that I have. So you have to find out what kind of person you are. Some people thrive. Tom is more social than I am. And he can thrive in those environments. He can go to like a Lady Gaga concert and stand in the middle of all that screaming and yelling and woohoo, I love it. Oh my God, I wouldn't even go. I can't do it. So, what kind of person are you? What, and don't let other people push you to do what is against your true, authentic personhood.